I think you need to get into the million TPS range. I think that's the ballpark, 100,000 to 10 million or something like that. And you get this by looking at Twitter. How many tweets per second are there, right? MasterCard, Visa, how many transactions are they settling per second? You can look at trades per second printed on stock exchange. You can look at a lot of different metrics, and ballpark of 1 million transactions a second seems to be where within an order of magnitude of where a number of these live.
I think it's if you look at the data and the stats, it's pretty obvious that Solana is the cheapest and one of the fastest networks out there, and USDC and Solana is my favorite version of the US dollar. Well, Solana is an open protocol; anyone can build on it. So the Visa folks chose to build on Solana, so they don't really need permission or help from us, which is pretty great. You can think of the network as a network version of Linux. It's open source. Anyone can participate. What's really distinguishing about Solana is how fast and cheap it really is. I mean, we see that average transaction settles in about 1.2 seconds, and the cost is 0.002 cents. So we really built the technology to be as close to the cost of the hardware that it takes to run it, which means computers are very, very cheap these days. Bandwidth is very, very cheap. So money can actually be transmitted as cheap as data. And that's really, really cool, and I think the cornerstone of Solana.
Welcome to the Crypto Teacher. And I come back with that video just to make you think.
Don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel. Support this great content by hitting the Cash App and by joining the Patreon.
And guys, we have the big corporations and big banks are building in the bear market. Building this fourth industrial revolution right in front of the people's eyes. And guys, we have Tom Brady retiring, and now he has to go into corporate America. Put on those tap dancing shoes. And we know the money they're paying Tom Brady, they could have gave their people a raise. With all this inflation. And then guys, we have the NIL deals in football. And we know the banks were coming to try to get a piece. Now Morgan Stanley wants to all of a sudden educate the athletes about finances. And you guys know I touch bases on this in my NWO book because I used to research and look up all the athletes that invested their money, whether it was stolen or them just mismanaging. They could have went back into their own community and rebuilt it. There is a system built around these pro athletes. As soon as they get that money, the sharks come. But we also know sports, especially football, is about to change because here comes the metaverse. And in the metaverse, you can become whoever you want to be. At least that's what they want you to think. And we have Fox News finally admits the drums are about to start beating. And we know this fourth quarter going into 2024 is going to be some of the most entertainment times in your life, but your life is also going to be changing right in front of your eyes. But don't forget, this is all part of the fourth industrial revolution. Don't fall for the distractions. Get in the lab, because remember guys, you do not want to be caught on the wrong side of history. I know this sounds like a movie, but remember, your life is an illusion and TV is your reality. And remember, the Crypto Teacher told you, because he knows. When it comes to the NWO, it's all planned out. You have a wonderful day.
Well, great to be here and really great to be with Tom. And we are announcing today a unique, one-of-a-kind partnership with the greatest of all time who has delivered consistently on the largest stages in the world for many, many years. Bringing him into the Delta team, we've signed a long-term agreement for Tom to be a strategic advisor to Delta because our team needs that continued inspiration. We're on the top, but we want to keep climbing.
So you're talking about leadership. He's not just coming in and saying, hey, folks, Delta's great. He's going to talk about various topics and how to apply leadership in terms of improving your performance, the company's performance.
This is not a sponsorship. Yes, Tom will obviously be representing the brand, and he's awesome at it. But what I'm more excited is he's going to come inside the company. And he's going to be talking to our people about greatness, about resilience, about excellence, about performance in a team sport. He played with the greatest teams in the world. I think we run the greatest team in the airline space in the world, and putting our two brands together, magic's going to happen.
What did you think, Tom, when he approached you about this?
Well, I think getting to know Ed and the type of leader that he is, he has unbelievable command, incredible work ethic, and I think his vision and leadership over a long period of time has elevated the brand to an incredible place. So very fortunate to join the team and working with all the employees and, continue to help inspire people to, grow great communities and teams of people and companies. And I've been very fortunate over the years to be a part of a lot of those. And I think in this next chapter of my life to continue to do things like that is really, stimulates my own personal growth in a lot of ways. And I'm excited to share a lot of the lessons I've learned.
Why is this platform important for these people, and why is it important for Morgan Stanley?
As you just said, the deals and the number of opportunities that are coming to these student athletes because of NIL, that's the reason why it's important. We've heard from a number of these athletes in our financial education sessions that there's two things. They want more deals and they want to get financial education. Certainly, we're not on the deal-making side in the NIL space, but we certainly can play in the space of financial education, and that's what we've been delivering. Even prior to NIL, this is what our business was built on in the foundation of financial education. So that's why it's important, because student athletes are asking for it.
All right, so student athletes are asking not only for help with their finances, they're certainly commanding millions of dollars in various deals through their NIL, ability to leverage their NIL. So let's talk about, is this platform just about managing money, or are there other aspects to it when we're talking about young people who all of a sudden have an influx of sometimes millions of dollars?
So when you think about it from the standpoint of financial education, yes, it's a part about managing money. There's budgeting, saving, and investing. But when you look at NIL and even social media influencers, it's about the do's and don'ts, reading contracts, understanding taxes. It's all of that in the ecosystem of focusing on financial education. So for us, we wanted to make sure that we address the needs that the student athletes were telling us about. There's a whole host of things about NIL and even influencers and creators that are on the same length of a sports and entertainment type of client. When you think about they're using their name, image, and likeness as well.
Mm-hmm. Sandra, I can well imagine that so many of these young individuals who are some of them in high school, some of them early in college, could be really vulnerable to bad advice, to theft or fraud or whatever, and that this education is a big part of addressing that sort of knowledge gap. So I want you to talk about that. But how much of this is about education, and how much, if any, of it is about attracting assets to Morgan Stanley? In other words, do you hope to manage some of the money that is coming into the hands of these young influencers, athletes, entertainers?
So yes, and so, but when you think about it, financial education is really the foundation and the forefront. And part of what we also talk about is thinking of yourself as a business. Like, you are the CEO of you, so you have to build your team. So it's the financial advisors, depending on what industry you're in, the business manager, the accountant, the attorneys, and the like, all have to play towards your vision. So yes, having a team is really important for these student athletes and these new up-and-coming creators. And the one thing that I would also like to share about NIL, what it has allowed is not only for them to be able to make money, but then they're able to engage professionals like financial advisors, accountants, and agents without jeopardizing eligibility. So that's really the beauty that came out of NIL. Yes, the money is great, but also the representation is even greater. And look, at the end of the day, it's our responsibility to help these young people, because they're going to be our next generation of leaders. These are going to be the next generation of people that are going to entertain us. And would it be something where we would love for them to be clients? Absolutely. But our focus really right now is focusing on the financial education piece.
We're in uncharted waters, and here's why. The Wall Street Journal reports 100 incidents of Chinese nationals posing as tourists to try and breach U.S. military sites. Item 1. Item 2. President Xi expected to skip the G20 summit. Item 3. Kim Jong-un going to meet Putin in Russia to discuss weapons support. Katie McFarlane joins us now. Katie, is a new world order taking shape?
Well, we'll see if it takes shape. The Chinese are certainly hoping that it takes shape, and it's all the things that you've talked about, plus a whole lot of other examples. The Chinese think this is their moment. that the United States, probably starting with the withdrawal from Afghanistan and all the mistakes we've made since then, that we're ripe for the picking. You know, our economy isn't in good shape. We've got a president who seems to be quite challenged. We can't get our act together domestically, and our economy isn't where it used to be. So yeah, I think the Chinese are setting up the new global world order that's going to rest on China, Russia, Iran, North Korea, whatever they can pick up in the BRICS and the global south, and then they'll reset the rules of the international rules-based order to really favor themselves economically, on trade, and military possessions, and on influence in global regions, yeah.
What do you make of 100 Chinese nationals trying to get into U.S. military bases, appearing as tourists and saying, hey, all have the same story? What is with that?
Yeah, it's like they're coming in through the doors and the walls and the crack in the floor. Yeah, the Chinese are clearly penetrating United States intelligence. It started with the spy balloon, probably started before that. They're looking at us from Cuba. They've got divers that are going off of U.S. naval installations. They've got tourists going into hotels that are near American military installations. I mean, they even have White House tours where Chinese tourists are, quote, getting lost and taking pictures of areas they're not supposed to take. I think a lot of this is just the whole Chinese approach to intelligence is hoover up as much as you can. We'll figure out what we'll use it for later. But yes, and it's also in your face. They're not even trying to disguise it. They're right in your face. They're not worried about our reaction anymore.
What's with Kim Jong-un's visit to Moscow? Is that straightforward? That Putin needs weapons and North Korea needs food, and the Chinese are telling their client state, NOCO, get up there and get some ammunition to the Russians? Is that what's going on?
Yeah, well, it's part of what you're talking about is this new global world order and the new Cold War, which is going to be led by China, Russia, North Korea, and Iran. You know, as long as oil prices remain high, thanks in large part to Joe Biden's war on American fossil fuels, then Russia has money to burn. It has money to pay for its war in Ukraine. It's running out of weapons, so it's going to take that money, that extra money it has from high oil exports and prices, and go around the world on a shopping spree. And
going to a different economy, and we're going to be learning more about that as we go. But clearly, we're learning that things can be done from remote locations. We're learning that technology can replace people even more than we thought.
We're not going back to the same economy. We're recovering, but to a different economy, and it'll be one that is more leveraged to technology. And I worry that that is going to make it even more difficult than it was for many workers.
In Silicon Valley, and my friends who work in technology know that what we did to the manufacturing workers, we are now going to do to the retail workers, the call center workers, the fast food workers, the truck drivers, and then even bookkeepers, accountants, insurance agents, lawyers, and on through the economy. So what happened to the manufacturing workers is a very clear sign.
And so we'll import Chinese-based CBDC technology. So it's going to be CBDC in a box provided to you by the People's Bank of China.
But every stock, every bond, every currency, every commodity, every piece of art, every private business, every piece of real estate will eventually be a token on a blockchain, an entry on a ledger, permanent and immutable. We will have truth instead of trust, and we will save over $7 trillion a year. 6 to 8% of global GDP is wasted by the friction of the trust industry that's necessary when you have dual entry accounting. With triple entry accounting, which is what a blockchain is, we get rid of all of that friction. It's a beautiful future.
Like what you see in China and their social credit scoring systems, right? If we get identity wrong, it could be a tool to enslave humanity. And if we get it right, it could be a tool to liberate humanity. And as an American, I'm obviously rooting for the one that's on the side of freedom.
Bitcoin is an international asset. And also, I do believe the role of crypto is, it's digitizing gold.
I actually believe this technology is going to be very important. Look at it. We have been part of the huge revolution in investing through ETFs. We believe that ETFs will be changing the whole way we invest. Many people still use it as a means, well, people are investing it for indexing. No, the majority of people who are putting money in an ETFs are active investors that are buying exposure. The entire bond market is being transformed as we talk right now. I believe the next generation for markets, the next generation for securities will be tokenization of securities. And if we could have that distributed ledger that we know every beneficial owner, every beneficial seller, we all have our code of who's buying, who's selling, instantaneous settlement. And think about it, it changes the whole ecosystem.
Cryptoteacher and the new World Order book, plus the 3 kids books. It's time to re-educate. Also, new to cryptos, Coinbase, Bitrue, Binance. Do not forget book links and crypto links are in the description. The stock channel, guys. Don't forget to go like, subscribe, spread everywhere. You have your Kobo, your chip stocks, your banking, your gaming. While everybody's sitting at home, get home stocks, the Seaver, the biotech stocks. And while everybody's at home wishing, they were still getting that free money. What are they doing? Drinking and smoking weed. Don't forget about those stocks, and you have a wonderful day. The most powerful person in the world is the storyteller. The storyteller sets the vision, values, and agenda of an entire generation to come. Steve Jobs. And guys, you know I truly believe in this. When you look at the New World Order, they're the storytellers. And that's the reason why I wrote my New World Order book. But guys, now it's time to change the current generation. And I wrote 3 kids books. You know I love the Trinity because I understand the power that's in it. So I have 3 books. We have an opportunity to change the generation, to educate. Not just me, but I want to show you that I take action on a daily basis. And I want you to take action on a daily basis. Whether it's your job, whether it's in your community, we have an opportunity right now to educate the masses. I posted this on my Twitter account. Please share, but this is a short clip of the 3 books. There's going to be a clothing line and action figures. Please get these books for your kids, nephews, cousins, friends, so therefore we can start the re-education now. Because as we see, the 4th Industrial Revolution foundation is definitely here. Robots, algorithms, drones, taking humanity out the picture. We have to re-educate. But let's get into the video.
Part 1. King Joshua and Drama Team save the village. Part 2. King Joshua and Drama Team save New York. COVID Stories 3. Part 3. King Joshua and Drama Team goes to China.
It's mandatory to get part 1, part 2, and part 3 of this series. It's time to re-educate Generation Z.